Technically, I'd say it wasn't a Defender breakdown, just a failed fuel pump. Hello, it's me again, and as you can see, I've got my Land Rover Defender back from France after breaking down on the motorway. After travelling around Corsica, France's best kept secret, for 9 weeks, my wife and I decided that it was time that we came home. Navigated the whole of Corsica. We could have stayed longer, but for various reasons we decided we would come home. And so we did virtually 3,000 miles, and 3.5 miles from Calais, my Land Rover broke down. Actually, it wasn't the Defender that broke down, it was the fuel delivery system, i.e. the fuel pump, that failed, which caused my Defender to stop. So technically, I'd say it wasn't a Defender breakdown, just a failed fuel pump. Now, if you don't already know the story, well, basically what happened was my Land Rover Defender stopped just outside Calais, in actual fact 3.5 miles from the ferry port. And subsequently, because it stopped on a motorway, we had to be towed off the motorway or transported off the motorway and taken to a safe spot, which was the compound of the recovery firm that recovered us from the motorway. Now, right off the bat, I asked the guy that had towed us in and offloaded my vehicle, if I could repair it or have a go at repairing it. He flatly said no, and told me and my wife to get out of the compound. He didn't say it that abruptly, but he said, basically get out of the compound for 2 hours, we're stopping for lunch, come back then. So after 2 hours, we returned to be greeted by a lady. Well, when I say greeted, I went into the office and I was talking to a lady, and she said there was no way that I could repair the vehicle on their premises. So we were stuck in Calais. So the long and the short of it is we made our way to the ferry port and made our way to England, and basically left it in the hands of my breakdown recovery insurance. My Land Rover is insured with Sterling Insurance. Sterling Insurance sold me the breakdown cover, and that was done through a company called Trinity Lane, which subsequently ended up to be Adrian Flux, which then we were dealing with the French version of Adrian Flux. And to be fair, they were very good. They contacted us regularly with some updates. Not very good updates, but updates nevertheless. Anyway, when the vehicle broke down, I was pretty certain it was the fuel pump. So I had told the mechanics there that it was the fuel pump. Whether or not they took any notice, I don't know. Anyway, so 2 weeks have gone by, and I've got the Land Rover back, obviously. And to be fair, the garage that towed us off, you hear all these stories about cars being held for ransom and overcharging. To be honest, they charged to replace the fuel pump, which is a reasonably easy job if you do it a particular way. They charged €490, which in the grand scheme of things wasn't too bad, I suppose, because what it could have been. My insurance company's not picking up that tab. I have to pay for any repairs, but in fact, I don't know what the insurance company does pay for. I know they've paid for a taxi for us from the actual garage to Calais ferry port, which is 12 minutes. So I know we've got that out of them. At this point, I just want to have a shout out to our real rescuers, Sam and Lana. Thank you very, very much again for getting us across the channel. Thank you. Anyway, as I said, the recovery garage charged us €490 in that region, which is, I think, is about £350. So, to be fair, I could have done it myself, but as I couldn't get access to the vehicle, and because of the language barrier, me and my wife had to bite the bullet and agree to the €490. you know, fully expecting that there would be some extras there. But in actual fact, there wasn't. When we picked it up, it was exactly 490 something euro, and I was very relieved and pleased. Anyway, let's get back to how they must have fixed it. So, apparently the correct way to access the fuel pump on a Land Rover TD5 110 is by dropping the fuel tank and accessing the fuel pump from there. Now, that would have been quite a difficult job, and I don't see any evidence that that's how they tackled the job. Now, shortly after we got back to England, I managed to email the company, and I showed them a picture of a panel that was in the back of my Land Rover that made the access to the fuel pump a lot easier than trying to access it by dropping the tank. Now, I'm assuming that that's the way they went in, because as I said, there is no evidence that they've had the fuel tank out, and there's very little evidence that they went in the way that I described to them or showed them, because nothing was touched in the vehicle, virtually nothing. We had a lot of equipment in there, and nothing had been moved as far as I could see. Now, the only thing that they could have moved or would have moved was the drawer that I've got in the back of the Defender, where I was keeping all my tools. So I'll take this drawer out, and then I'll just show you where the panel is. Just taking a chunk out of my paintwork there. So this is the back of my Defender, and there's the panel. There's the panel. So I'm assuming they went in. I just had to lift that. That could come out altogether, that piece of alley, but I think they definitely went in this way. I can't undo this at the moment and show you and expose the top of the fuel pump, but I will when I get home. And I'll show you how easy it is to access the fuel pump. It's not pretty, I know it's not pretty, but it's a means to an end really, and that's getting this fuel pump out without having to drain the whole tank. I'll show you underneath the vehicle. There is absolutely no evidence that they removed the fuel tank. This is a fuel tank, and yeah, they haven't removed any of this. This has not been moved whatsoever, what I can see of it. So I definitely think that they went in through here. Anyway, so this is my Land Rover, and as you can see, I've still got the roof tent on there and all the associated stuff. I don't know if I'm going to leave it on there over the winter. I haven't really got anywhere to store it other than the back of my garage, and to be fair, it'll be a real pain to get off. But I don't know, do people just leave them on all the time? I don't really know, but that's it, and I'm so glad we've got it back from France. To be honest, it was a very stressful time for me and my wife. The first few days we were just numb with shock that the Defender had broken down, and the weight didn't really lift all that week, but it was such a relief when the insurance company rang and said that the garage had agreed to fix it by the following Wednesday. They said it would be ready. I mean, that was just such a load off my shoulders, it seemed, and still had the, you know, you hear all these stories about no, they couldn't get the part, blah blah blah, but this went so smoothly in the end, and I didn't really need to worry. The insurance company got it sorted. It was such a relief to be able to go over there and actually collect the vehicle, and it was exactly how much they said it was going to be, the repair, and it restored my faith in stuff really. But I really do thank the French company that we were dealing with. They were very good. So let me put this back in here, and I'll go home. We'll take my vehicle back, and I'll expose the fuel pump underneath the trap there, the hatch, the panel, whatever we want to call it. It's there. And this is quite heavy, this, so I have to lift it. And that goes in. So this is the back of the Defender. As I said, all my tools and spares go in there, and I keep that specifically for them. Spare wheel where I keep all my bungee straps. This is the inside of the vehicle. Now everything's out of it. But yes, I'm so pleased to have it back. Such a relief. Of course, the question is, why did the fuel pump fail? Then I don't think they're supposed to fail that often. The particular fuel pump that was in there, I replaced it about 1.5 years ago. And what had happened to the previous one, this kind of sludge had clogged everything. Now I've subsequently learned that there's some sort of diesel bug that has done that forms in a fuel tank if water gets into it. And it turned out that I did, if you look at some of my other videos, I did have a leak in fuel cap, which over the time obviously let water in. There was anywhere else water could have got in. So I would have liked to know, was the pump that they've just replaced, was it just faulty, or was it blocked? Now, if it was blocked, there's a good chance that whatever blocked it is still in the tank. Now, at this point in time, I'm not going to remove the new fuel pump. I need the vehicle for work, so I'm not going to start messing about with it. But in the not too distant future, I'm going to take this fuel pump out and double check that this diesel bug thing is not still present in the tank. As I said, I replaced the fuel pump about 1.5 years ago, and I thoroughly cleaned the tank. Thoroughly cleaned it. So whether this bug is, I don't know, it's got spores or whatever. Apparently there is a chemical that I can put in there which will kill the bug. But obviously if it's like a fungus and the bug is killed, then there's still going to be the remnants of it in the bottom of the tank, which I'm going to have to remove. So I'm going to run the Land Rover for a while now, and then in a few weeks, when I get low on fuel, or the fuel gets low, so I can drain minimum out of the tank, I'll have a go at removing the fuel pump to see if there's anything blocking the strainer on it, or there's any evidence of anything that could block the strainer on the bottom of the fuel pump. Well, here I am at home again, and let me just show you what's underneath that trapdoor or access panel that's in the back. So firstly, what I'm going to do is just prop up this base with a bit of wood, just to make it easier. Then I've got a 8mm socket. Believe it or not, I've got plenty of power tools and I can't find the right one right now to do this, so I'm doing it by hand. So there's the fuel pump, top of the fuel pump exposed. Let's just take you off and show you that. So that's the fuel pump. So it's quite easy to remove. You just unclip the pipes and the the power supply, and then there's a ring there which you just, well, I knock it with a screwdriver, knock it round, and that locks it in. There's a gasket there as well that you have to be careful of. So that's basically it. And yes, I mean, I cut the hatch, and I've got to say, I cut the access panel myself a couple of years ago, and I've got to say it wasn't my finest hour. But aluminium in situ like that is not an easy material to cut, and I had to cut through two layers, which I didn't realise at the time. So if anybody's offended by that, I apologise, and I realise it's a bit of a dog's dinner. So it's just a case of refitting the drawer. Thank you for watching, and if you can, please subscribe. It is free. My wife is going to be so pleased. We're another step closer to our next road trip.